You are live.
This is the Senate Education Committee, Friday, March 28th, 1:30 or thereafter. We're going to take a tiny little break from our work on the larger education reform bill. And we have Tom Peany from Advance Vermont here to tell us about the work that you're doing. And we know this is one of our times, so we want to get you in.
Thank you so much for having me. Okay, for me to share my screen, is that helpful for you? Okay, great. For the record, I'm Tom Cheney, Executive Director of Advance Vermont. Thanks for having me in today. It's nice to meet you all. I think familiar faces to me. So it's great to see you. Well, I know we've got about a half hour, so I want to give you a little bit of sense of who we are and what we do. And then if we have some time, talk about some data the Senator Weeks and I got into yesterday next door, which was actually a great conversation. So what we do at Advance Vermont is
before I forgot about this.
Yeah.
Do you know everybody in the room? So we normally go around and introduce ourselves. We always go this direction over here.
okay.
So the first empty chair, I know she's going to be here because I just talked to her.
I know Senator Ron.
Senator Ron Hinsdale will be coming in a minute, and then Senator Hashim, I believe, will be coming. And then we have Dave Weeks representing Rutland County. Seth Baumgart's from the Bennington Senate District.
Terry Williams, also Rutland County.
Steve Heffernan and Addison.
So Advance Vermont, we've been around since 2017, teeny tiny, two of us right now, with an intern. And what we do is really similar to a lot of folks in the post-secondary space in terms of our vision. Right? We see and want a Vermont that's prosperous and fueled by a well-educated, well-trained citizenry. Folks are feeling like they got financial security, that the economy is strong, and we have engaged communities that really see education and training essential to that of any kind. And so what we try to do through our mission is just ensure that Vermonters are able to see and then ultimately pursue education and training and a career pathway that helps them meet their goals. We're going to take a step back and talk about it for a quick second before we dig into the work that we do. And this is just to center us around this goal that the legislature set in 2019. And this is a goal that 70% of Vermonters, really by this year, will hold a credential of value. And that means really any of these pieces of paper below, an apprenticeship, a certificate, certification degree, license that has value in the labor market. And the reason why this goal was set was because of workforce needs, right? And as well as the individual needs of our families. And the thought was that a lot of the data was saying from employers, we need in the neighborhood of 2/3 or so of Vermonters to fill our workforce need to have some sort of piece of paper after high school. So that's really what drove that number. There's 4 policy priorities that were
Remind me, where did that come from?
So the legislature codifies, and actually was a broader conversation prior to that informed this. So there was educators, nonprofits, philanthropy, government, employers. But it was informed by this larger conversation as well. And then the legislature adopted it. And really what was identified was that we've got to make sure people know what the pathways are, the career pathways, the value of education and training and achieving those pathways. Make sure people have access to the training that they need, and then make sure they complete. So we get them in the door, we got to get out the door. Otherwise, that's an opportunity lost. And key to all of this is just partnerships. Make sure we're better working together to help achieve that. So we've really been focused like a laser at finding where we can have impact to help meet the goal. I know the next question was going to be, well, where are we? And we're at 59%. So the Lumina Foundation is an organization that, like a philanthropic organization that really drives this nationally. And they do a really nice job tracking this data for states. So this is using their calculus, but we're at about 59%. We've made good progress in the last decade or so. The challenge is, we'll get into this maybe a little bit later, is the pipeline's not looking good. So I really worry about us being able to stay even at this 59 number, let alone grow to where we truly need to be to meet what our goals are as a city.
Where were we when we started? You said the progress has been good.
Yeah,
Yeah, 59.
yeah, we were in the neighborhood of, when I started, let's see. Yeah, 2017, when we started, was 47.7%. So now, there's not super deep analysis into exactly how and why we got up to 59%. But part of it is that what we're talking about is the working age population. So it's 25 to 64 is the measurement. And so people have aged out. So part of this is people aging out over those 10 years and kind of having a more educated, citizenry that's kind of younger. The other piece is we have some people move in. So that also is going to make these numbers a little more. It's hard to pinpoint whether, and like I said, the underlying data from K to 12 and kind of the transition to post-secondary education doesn't look like that's probably been a huge feeder of this game. We've been more stagnant in terms of those numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. So what levers did Act 80 pull to incentivize the increase of these?
So Act 80 was a pre-COVID large workforce bill. Back in pre-COVID days, that meant about $1 million in workforce. Now I'm trying to remember what was in it, but there were a number of different workforce programs that were probably aligned with this goal, but mostly this was a goal without a whole suite of policy initiatives to support it.
Okay. That's very well. Thank you. So actually, just more background. How are you funded?
So we're funded, yeah, thanks for that question, through philanthropic funds, through state appropriations, and through federal earmarking. We also had a contract with Higher Ability for Vermont as well.
Is that a single federal earmark or
That's a single.
for 1 year or?
It's a 2-year, and we're partway through the first year.
Okay.
But we are kind of a year by year kind of organization. And so, I will, in a few slides, tell you we do have a budget request, and so highlight that for you as well as you start to think about that. Yep. So as we think about, okay, how do we continue to make sure we have the workforce that we need? The way we try to simplify it at Advanced Vermont is thinking about it kind of as a three-legged stool. So you have to have robust and career-connected education and training options. That's really important. And the legislature has invested a lot of time and money in that over the last number of years. And I think we feel like we've got a lot of good options in the state. You got to have financial aid. There's a cost involved, and you have to have support services to make sure people can navigate through. And we spent more money than we ever have before on financial aid. It's never been a better time to be a student from that perspective. The amount of aid that's on the table. We have great support services.
We the state.
I think that was
Okay, Mike.
what I was saying. And so again, we as a state have made a lot of investments there over the last number of years. The area where we believe we need the most investment and focus is around inspiration and aspiration. Another way to think about it is helping folks of any age dream, explore, and plan. And that's where we have seen less focus and where we have some of the biggest challenges right now. Our youth are not aspiring or considering planning to go on to education after high school at the rates they were just a few years ago. They're not continuing at the rates that they were a few years ago. And we'll hopefully get to that slide that Senator Weeks was talking about earlier, that we can dig into those numbers in a second.
Well, I can't help noting as we're sitting here, this connects to yesterday's testimony for the CTGs. So directly, but it does. But the inspiration part and giving people something to get excited about, inspiration, the aspiration does connect to the CTEs potentially.
Yeah, 100%. And we consider CTE programs a real big part of ours. Yeah. So what we do is really around making sure that we have meaningful career and education navigation. So in other words, that people are able to navigate their pathway on their own and with support. And that we believe that if we have that, we will be able to make up for some of these challenges that I was just talking about. We can talk about more later. So we try to ensure that career and education seekers of any age and those who support them, we call those the navigators, have the information and tools they need to make informed choices about the next steps. We also really make a priority to be thinking about not just degrees, but all education options, and to make sure people know about what those are. So we have 3 programs. One is this one called My Future VT. The next is called the Vermont Grant for Transparency, and then Graduate with a Plan. So I'll quickly walk through each of those. So My Future VT is an online platform for career and education exploration. What you can do is, it's for people of all ages, explore careers, find education training, and then get connected to real life humans who can help you along the way, different support services, whether Department of Labor or others. It's written at an 8th grade reading level. It's translated in the top 8 spoken languages in the state, mobile friendly, all those things that you need to engage with people these days. Testimonial on this, I just wanted to share, is that make Zoom a little smaller so I can read it. But it's a school counselor. And they said, what I appreciate about My Future VT is how it's laid out with this direct link between this job and these are the educational pathways that get you there. And that's her or him or her, it's the level of connecting the dots for someone in their role. So that's really, in essence, when I read that, was really what we're trying to do. Make sure people can connect the dots from their dreams to the career path, to an education path, and then be connected with other supports too. So I was just going to show you a few, screenshots from the website, just so you get a little bit of a flavor of what people are seeing. And this is being used, by the way, across the state at all age levels, and it's being used in schools and also with adults. So this is kind of an interactive module, actually, this homepage, and it helps to push people right to the information that's most pertinent and helpful for them. So you kind of click on careers or education, and then it asks you another question like, are you just starting, or have you, have a little bit of sense of what you want to do? And then based on that, it fits you where you might want to go. So we have a database. There's 3 databases on the site, and these are really crucial for people, and they're the most visited places on the site. So this one is the top 550 careers in the state, and we use Vermont Department of Labor. People can sort through, filter through to explore the careers that might be of interest to them. When they click into a career, say they want to be thinking about being a carpenter, they can actually see the wages and the openings, but what does a carpenter do? What are the skills that are required to be a carpenter? And then scroll down and say, well, what's the education that I need to access this career? And we will have a list of the education programs that are relevant to each career. Then you look through those, which will be what I'll show you in a second. So, this other section of the site.
Can you go back one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does it make a difference if you're inside this program and you're a student age versus an adult who's looking to potentially change the career path?
No,
Okay.
it's not personalized in that way. Yeah, good question. But it is written at the 8th grade reading level, so that's a place where it starts. So then we have this database of education training programs. This is the only place where you'll find, there's not even a spreadsheet somewhere. The vast majority of the credential bearing programs. So these are the programs from degrees to certificates to apprenticeships that will gain entry to the labor market for the people. So we don't have like a CPR course, but we have, we may have an EMT course in here. I'm positive that. So we have 650. This is the vast majority from all of our public institutions. The vast majority of our CTE centers have their programs listed here, both their adult and day programs, and many other providers, including Vermont Adult Learning, Resource, and some others that do some great certifications and trainings. So this is just one I chose, the Randolph Tech Center. This is looking at construction trades to follow in that line of thinking. And again, you can see here's a description of what this program is. How long is it? What does it cost? All that kind of thing. What the cost is actually the next slide. How long does it take? All this information is gathered and validated from these providers. So I'll talk a little bit about this. We spent a lot of time making sure this is right. And then scrolling down the page, by moving to this next slide, and you can see we talk about how much it costs, and then the connection back to the various careers that this is affiliated to. And then we can compare programs side by side, like if you're online shopping. This is also a really unique tool. And so you can use it in a variety of different ways, but including saying, like, I'm not quite sure what the difference is between a certificate, a certification, and associate and a bachelor's degree in this instance. And I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to see side by side what this might be. So we did an evaluation about a year ago of the site. That was after about 2.5 years. We're now 3.5 years in. And basically 9 out of 10 said, hey, this thing's working for me. It's valuable, has a good look and feel. This person who was in their 20s and said, I've used different things like this. And this one's more user-friendly and has a more student-friendly feel. But more important than people thinking it feels good and has the information they need is, are they actually doing something about it? And so 9 out of 10, again, say, I actually did something with this information. So I may have a clearer path, a clear understanding of my path. I may have a better sense of the resources available to me, or maybe I applied for a job or enrolled in an education program. So pretty big numbers we thought coming out of this. And Lydia from Washington County said, heard a lot of negative things about the workforce, but this really opened her eyes to different jobs that are in the area that were what she was looking for. Any questions on My Future VT? This is kind of the bigger program that I'll talk about today. Okay. So because collecting the data for the education and training programs is such a big thing, we gave it its own project name. So it's called the Vermont Credential Transparency Project. And this is really just to make sure that we can collect, the goal is to have all of the post-secondary credentials collected in inventory and then made public for Vermonters. And it's an ongoing process. We don't have all of them yet. It takes a lot of coordination with the different education providers across the state. We do have the vast majority of them now.
So this is background work for what we're just looking at.
Yeah, so that basically populates the credential database that I was just showing. Yeah. And the benefits to this is not just My Future VT and the individuals that are using that, but also employers can go there and get a better sense of, okay, what are the education programs that might be feeding, my workforce? So maybe I need to send my employees back out for a training. What are the ones that are available in the state? For you all as policymakers, and we talked about this yesterday, several weeks, you can have a better sense of what's being offered. So as you're thinking about what are the high pay, high demand, or the critical industry that you want to invest in, you can also say, okay, do we have the education that we need to support the demand for those particular industries? Or maybe we're oversaturated in some places. And for education and training providers, it's also helpful for them because they can see what's being offered as they're considering, modifying their programs or even from a marketing perspective, we're hopeful just publishing this information is helpful.
Do you do anything to actually pull people together other than just put this out there?
So we are putting it out there and we share this data whenever possible with people. But what do you mean specifically? Yeah. Make sure I
Part of this might be employers looking at it and thinking about programs or something that they might need that's not listed. I mean, do you ever get people in the same room to think through some of the missing pieces of how this could work better? Or are you really just more about putting information out there?
Yeah, I say we focus more right now on the putting that information out there and collecting the information. But absolutely, we're engaged in conversations with our workforce partners all the time about what are the opportunities, options out there, and they're using this as a resource as they're, investigating the programs they can invest in or work on. So it's an area that we'd love to do more on. Yeah.
Any,
sorry.
any interface between, adult learning and the, high school diploma program?
Yeah, so funny enough, I just presented to Vermont Adult Learning today, and I think it was the neighborhood of 30 of their counselors from across the state. And so they use My Future VT and use this data, and we'll hopefully be using it more after conversation we had.
Right.
But absolutely, they're core partners. Yeah.
So, do they still do career days at schools and that? Does anybody know? They used to have them in the auditorium, you come in and you have. So are you there to promote your?
Yeah, and we'll be at Burton Burton actually in a couple weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, we do go to a lot of those, to try to showcase My Future VT in particular. Yeah.
Awesome.
Which is a great segue to our next and our last program that we have, and this is the one that's supported with federal dollars. Really, what we realized over time was we built My Future VT, and it is valuable, and people are using it. But some people aren't ready for that. They're not ready for this level of exploration. They're still trying to figure out what their next steps are. They're still looking for that inspiration, and they're looking for help. They're looking for help from adults. And so what we decided to do was to create this project called Graduate with a Plan. And it's about bringing capacity to school communities. We know that our school counselors, our teachers are doing incredible work and working day in, day out to build these great relationships with their students. But we also know, because they tell us, that they need more help in this area. How do I have a conversation with my students about what their options are? When can I have that conversation with my students as we're balancing all of the different demands of our education system? And so what we're setting out to do is to provide navigator training. We're calling them navigator trainings, which is basically professional development to anybody within a school, but also the greater community. We'll be going to Rotary Club meetings. We'll be talking to coaches. We'll be making sure that these trainings hopefully include everybody within a school, from the office personnel to the teachers, because we know that each one of them has a relationship with at least one student, right? That they could maybe break through with them. And we want to take the onus off of school counselors as being the only conduit for conversations about after high school, and to say everyone has a role in this, and let's explore that together as a school community. So this is about bringing capacity, supporting the great work, and enhancing it. So professional development, but also we're starting to call it, whether we call it curriculum, or whether we call it a framework, toolkit, but basically to go into a school and be able to say, let's think about how you can build this into your school day, how you can maybe build it into your classroom. And because, so we train the teachers so they can have these conversations, but we have to give them the time and the space to do it. So thinking with educators about how can you create the space within a school day, maybe it's homeroom, teacher advisory, or something like that. So that's the work that we're kicking off now with partners across the state.
You keep saying we, you say we, is that you do mean the two of you?
To us and a partnership of, we have 15 people on a steering committee that's supporting this, who will be helping us to lay the groundwork for this. We do hope to hire somebody to also help with this work. But yeah.
Do you have how many site hits you have?
Oh yeah, good question. I should have had that on there. It's 120,000 plus at this point. So in the neighborhood of at least 30,000 a year is what we go for. And we think about a high school graduating class of 5,000. We feel like that's a pretty good number. And I'm trying to, and I think we went over some of the other key stats of how big. I will note that it's pretty representative too of our population, both in kind of all the demographic areas. And county use is actually pretty good too. There's some areas we want to spend a little more time on to make sure we have, basically, the people coming that's kind of equal to their population share of the state county-wide.
But it is get hit from
Every corner of the state.
us.
Yeah. And every once in a while you can see everyone entering it through like Google Classroom or something, and you're like, oh, okay, the school over here was using it today. So it is getting used in schools, and it's getting used by people who are also helping adults too. Yeah. It's filled a real niche. So that just takes,
Well, Tom, sorry if I missed this, and I probably interrupted you from saying that great piece when you were in economic development. But I think that's really wonderful. And I don't know, I think at some point both committees should look at the Vermont Employment Pathfinder because, you know, I don't know, maybe when I was that age, a plan sounded very, you know, anxiety producing. Like what plan? What does that even mean? But linked to the Vermont Employment Pathfinder, which says, oh, you think you might want to do this, here are all the steps you have to take to do that. It's really, you all are holding people's hand digitally to try and make a plan. And I think that's really powerful.
Well, thanks. And did I say, did I tell you that, you know, when the research shows that when people are making their plan, and it varies on the piece of research, but generally speaking, they need a human. They need a bunch of humans, but it's parents, family, friends are, you know, in the top 5, but so are technical tools like this. So for instance, when we did some research, we saw that they were number 2. I see number 4, but the top 5, you need a platform like My Future VT. That's just what people are looking for. So to have one that's Vermont specific is really important because you get the information that's really most relevant to you. And from, you know, an entity that is responsive and can be nimble in that way. The Vermont Employment Pathfinder, maybe I could just take one quick second. I didn't talk about it today. The Vermont Employment Pathfinder is a tool that we've put on My Future VT, but it's really led by the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. And it's an AI-powered exploration tool that allows people to do what My Future VT does, but with AI support. So it takes it'll map your skills, it'll connect you to different education and employment opportunities. It also helps you create a resume, an AI resume. So that's a really cool tool that we are partnering with. And the way that Vermonters access it is through My Future VT. Yeah.
How do they find it? How do they know to look for it? I know you can do it through the schools. I get that part.
Yeah. So part of, we'll get to the budget ask in a second, of what we do is really outreach. Marketing is another way to describe it, but we have to get out. So yeah, it's going to events like the Burden, you know, career fair. It's also buying Google ads and, you know, being in touch with as many organizations as possible to make sure that they're driving people. Yeah. So I know we're tight on time, so I'll be respectful of that. And I can finish with a budget request. So in the House, or I should say, I'll just say what it is. We've come to the legislature the last number of years and received $350,000 to sustain this work. And it's $350,000. It's been very, very helpful and essential to sustaining the work over time. We're asking for it to be level funded, but also are looking for a base appropriation so that it's something that we can plan for and build off of for years to come. In the House, I think they're probably working on the budget today. We are in it for $200,000 one time. And it's really important for us to reach our full capacity, to reach all the people that we need to reach. $350,000 base is really what we're looking for. And we would see it going through the Department of Labor. We have strong relationships with them there and look forward to that as an opportunity to build those relationships. So what we do with that money is make sure this thing is free and accessible for years to come. Keep it updated because things change fast and we have to make sure we stay up to speed with that. And then we have to make sure we're continuing to increase awareness and usage. We feel good about where we are with the budget we have, but there's a lot more to do to make sure that people are using it safe and trained on. I can talk some data if you want, or I can stop.
Could you just explore your budget a little bit more with us? Like how much total money do you have coming through the organization?
Yeah. So
and from where? And you touched on
it is about a $450,000 a year organization. Our earmark is congressionally directed spending, I guess is what it's called, is about $150,000 a year. So we're partway through first year. Yeah. And then we have, nonprofit plans to fill in the gap. So this would be a substantial portion of our budget, and we would continue to be fundraising on top of that just to see how much of an impact we can possibly make.
And when you said level fund, is each saying that you got 350,000 last year?
So we did not get funding last year, but we did get funding the 3 prior years. So
In the amount of,
we did 350, 150, 350, and then 0 last year to make up big last year.
so it's like, let's play this out a little bit. The difference between 200 and 350 is a third of your budget or more.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's about, it's a person, more, right? More than a person and a half.
Does that mean that you would have to reduce staff if you didn't get to the 350, or does it mean that you would be able to add somebody?
It would be a conversation. Yeah, it depends on how other things come together too, but it would be a difficult situation for us. And if anything, status quo. And if we feel like we're already stretched too thin and not able to get out to make sure that folks are accessing our services at the level that we like them to, it just, it means we're kind of status quo in that. So for example, we go to career fairs when we're invited, and we have the time. And so let's call that 6 a year. Well, there's not more than 6 that are going on. And if we could be proactive and find those and make sure we go to those, help people plan them, there's a whole lot more we'd like to be able to do, and we need people to do that.
Yes.
Again, 2 quick points. One, you guys and McClure Foundation do a great job on outlining the jobs that are available in Vermont. The pay, the approximate openings in a year, students a year. The one thing, and we had this conversation yesterday, that I think is lacking is the saturation of those jobs. For right now, we have 2.7 jobs for every applicant. Okay, or every job seeker, I should say. So it's critical that people who go on a job search understand that, well, of these 1,500 nursing jobs, that's just not what I pulled out of my that we're only able to provide, the state is only providing 75% of those job openings by qualified candidates, so that job seekers understand that this one's oversaturated. We have more in the pipeline than we need for the number of positions that we have available versus where do we need more skills. But the real issue with this is one of the reasons why I think Tom, this is a pertinent topic, is this slide about high school graduation led us into a whole conversation that went on for another 45 minutes. And if you can just at least hit the top one, hit it hard, because that's the problem.
Yeah.
One of the problems.
So this was a new graphic, and we tested it out with you guys yesterday. So it was, but there's new data from the Agency of Education. They feed it through this, the Common Data Project, which is a Newfoundland wide effort. And so we have a good comparison of these figures. 3 out of the 4 of these figures across them. So this top one is saying, okay, 100 high school students, 82 will graduate high school. Now that's down from in the neighborhood of 89% in 2017. If you look at folks who are economically disadvantaged, that's 71%. We're last in England for our high school graduation rate right now.
So if I'm going to interrupt, because for the past year and a half, I've been hearing nothing but self-congratulations that we maintain one of the highest graduation rates in the nation. And everybody kept talking about 90%. We're not at 90% anymore. We're 82%, and we've been dropping steadily every year for the past 8 years. That's a problem we're not hearing about. And I think it's germane to the overall conversation about transformation, et cetera.
And I'll say Senator Hinsdale made a good point yesterday. We do have to remember that these are numbers. So these are primarily 2023 numbers we're looking at on the slide. COVID did hit. So, there's no doubt that there was an impact here. Yet to know for sure whether we're going to climb out from that. I did look at some of these, last evening around New England, and some states are starting to climb out in a way that we're not, but it's still too early, I think. So it's just worth that caveat as an important one. So 82%, not, it's good, not great, right? So then VSAC has this great data around, people who are high school seniors saying, hey, in the fall, I'm going to continue my education. 73% say they are going to. And we don't have a measure for all the different credential programs. College is the measure we have, and it's a good proxy. Only 40 of this 100 will go to college that fall. Not a great figure. And that is last in New England by a lot. And then our graduation rate from college is actually on par with New England. You're starting from a lower point. It's not something we really celebrate. So 28 out of those 100 students will actually graduate college in 6 years, which is kind of the time frame to look at. But
How do you track that last statistic, no graduates from college?
yeah,
So I wondered about that one and talked to other people about it, and they would say was the high schools would say it's really hard to track that for us to know.
so I'm pretty sure this number comes from the National Student Clearinghouse. But basically it's a federal entity that tracks these figures. So colleges report their enrollment and their completion. And so they're able to do that. Now, we couldn't track your person from Burn.
Yeah, it's gross. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And this is an estimate based on 2023 numbers and what's been the average completion rate for the last decade or so. So anyway, that's that slide.
Oh, yes.
Is there anything that pushes, when you come onto the site, that would push a student to go toward one job more than another?
We're not pushing. No.
Or let's put it, attract them
Yeah.
to one job over another? Is there something on the site that might do that, or you feel it's?
So, yeah, and so we want to make sure that folks are able to feel empowered to find a path that works for them, and if they have the information to make really good choices, so that when they are looking at, let's say being an actor versus being an accountant, thinking that they're always at the top of the page. An accountant has a lot of openings, actor doesn't. Accountant pays pretty well, actor doesn't. So people would make those assumptions. But what we do is create content that might feature certain industries, and we'll try to feature those industries that have high demand. So there is content on the site that is driving people to some of those. Also, we flag those most promising jobs that are applied by the Department of Labor and the McClure Foundation in that database. So you can actually search most high pay, high demand. So those come up. So it's not pushing, but it is making sure that they have information. Yeah.
But you may have a career field that says, hey, can you highlight us? Do they ever have one getting highlighted over another, like saying, hey, right now we're looking for a bunch of data process centers? Or
We haven't done it that way yet, but something we are going to add is what we're calling an industry level page. So when you're on the site now, you can explore specific occupation, but you can't really go deep into a broader industry. So we're creating those pages actually right now. And that is a place where we're going to engage employers more, and where that kind of thing may be added. Yeah, so we actually list our draft, that page would list some employers and have some engagement there. So it gets closer to what you're saying.
we're going to talk about them. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Have you been able to quantify at all the number of people who you know have gone into a job because of the navigator or your efforts, I should put it that way.
But the closest we get is those that are saying, hey, I applied for the job or I applied for an education program.
And that's self-selected with it.
And that is self-selected. We're still trying to figure out how to do that. Yeah. Now, the tool like Vermont Employment Pathfinder that has a login, you can track that a little bit better. But we actually purposely didn't create a mandated login for the site because we didn't want people to have that area.
So one of the things we've been asking people to do, like you, is to send us a 2 or 3 paragraph letter about the budget. You would have thought, okay.
It's a one pager. It's a fun fact, but I can shorten it if you want.
No, it's fine. We can deal with that. Just sort of collect them all and then we'll budget at some point. soon. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad we had you in. That was, so I hadn't known, but what sure about the so.
I appreciate it. And the slides that I shared also have some more data that might be interesting to dig into in terms of, there's some key indicators as well.
Tom, are we getting to like a good season for you to send out to legislators a little paragraph that we can share
Oh, with your constituents?
in with our constituents? That's always helpful when we have a little digestible paragraph, and I guess this is like, what's next season? I don't
Yeah.
really, I mean, I suppose if you're
It's every season.
overachiever, it's December or something, but
Yeah, maybe I'll, kind of work with you on that.
yes,
Okay.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great idea.
Is that supplemental data linked anywhere and you have a website or?
So I can, each slide does have the source. I didn't link them, but if you were to Google it, you'd find it. I can also, if you have specifics, I can make sure you have them.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.